Hi there, KOIN 6 meteorologist Josh Cozart here with your latest KOIN Now weather edition, where we have a lot to unpack as yet again that KOIN 6 weather alert still remains in place for much of our area. We are talking about the second round of winter weather taking aim at much of our region. So that's going to be keeping that KOIN 6 weather alert in place as we anticipate another round of the ice, the snow, to take aim at much of our area. And this is all already underway for much of the Pacific Northwest. So again, I'm KOIN 6 meteorologist Josh Cozart. Be sure to share this video with all of your friends on social media. We are also live not only on Facebook, but maybe you're watching on YouTube and also over at KOIN.com. That, of course, is where you can get the latest information about school closures, which we found out that the Portland Public School District has closed its schools, at least elementary and middle, for tomorrow. And, of course, you can get those latest updates right now at KOIN.com. But as far as the forecast goes, we're really going to start to kind of unpack exactly what we anticipate to see here in the next little while. Our roadways, that's where we are currently picking up on some icy conditions, still lingering from round one that we saw earlier in the day today. So keep in mind, a lot of the snow-packed roads struggled to melt off any of that accumulation that we saw earlier this morning. It wrapped up right around lunchtime or so is when those skies started to dry out, kept us mostly cloudy with a few sun breaks here and there to allow for a little bit of melting. But right now, our roadways, for the majority of us, are on the wet side. That won't be the case for long as temperatures continue to tumble tonight. That's where we anticipate refreezing of anything that may have melted, but then added precipitation is in the works. So we'll kind of be sliding that minor impact scale all the way up to the red category where major impacts are expected as we really kind of work our way in through the overnight hours and for the start of the day Friday. Again, a lot of the school districts already starting to close because of those major road impacts that we do anticipate to see. So round number two, it's already in the works for much of our area. And that's where we really anticipate, more snow, more ice to build. You can see some of the shots below me. That was earlier today. It's going to be a similar situation as we wake up tomorrow morning, if not even snowier on many of those roadways. This is where we could potentially see another inch to 4 inches in the Portland, Vancouver metro area. Further to the south, we're talking a little bit more of that icing. And I do want to point out, if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can ask those in the comments below. I'll take moments throughout this live feed to really kind of dissect and get some of those questions, I should say, answered for you as we do anticipate all of this, which did start right around 7 o'clock, to just continue to take us through the rest of the overnight hours. So this is all part of a major storm system that's really packing a bit of a punch. It's worked its way onshore, not only bringing widespread precipitation to western Washington, all of western Oregon, much of the state of California. You got to keep in mind that this is very impactful for our friends down towards California. That's where they are talking about mudslides, especially over those burn scar areas. That is going to be a cause for concern. As we go ahead, zoom into our satellite and radar here, that's where the cloud coverage, of course, widespread. But those pinks, that's going to be the freezing rain. The purple, that's a wintry mix. So you might actually see liquid rain falling from the sky, and that will quickly be freezing on those conditions that are really on the colder side right now, if not even below zero along parts of the I-5 corridor. The wintry mix, that's more of sleet that we're picking up on. So I kind of like to think of sleet as almost like a sprinkling of sprinkles on top of an ice cream cone, on top of a donut maybe even. And looking at that donut as a glazed donut is the freezing rain, but the one with the sprinkles on it, that's going to be the wintry mix or the sleet that falls on it. So it has a little bit of a grip to it, but still, ice is ice. It's going to be slippery however you look at it. So that's going to be a concern as we work our way through the overnight hours. And then on top of that, once we get cold enough through all of the layers of the atmosphere, that wintry mix is going to flip back over to just all snow for many of us. So there's going to be a layer of ice. Then you start piling up the snow on top of it, and that's what's really going to lead or give way to some really, truly slick spots, because you won't be able to actually see the ice in many of those locations. It will be just the snow coverage for many of us. So just keep that in mind as we kind of work our way through the rest of this evening. Again, just a closer look, kind of pinpoint where you are located and what you're seeing. The green, those yellows, that's the light to moderate rain. The yellow, more of the moderate. But again, even that will likely be refreezing as we work our way through the overnight hours and over the high terrain at the Cascades. That's where heavy mountain snow is still underway. And this is going to have major impacts for a lot of us here moving through the next little while. So I do want to talk about some of the concerns as we really kind of look at our roadways. Our newscast, KOIN 6 News at 4 o'clock, we had an interview with PBOT. So I want to give you just a little bit of a listen in on exactly what we were talking about just a little bit earlier. Take a listen.
It was a treacherous drive in some areas today, and tonight we could see some more dangerous conditions with freezing rain and perhaps some more snow.
So for the latest on the situation, also as we get ready and prep ourselves going into tonight and tomorrow, let's bring in Hannah Schaefer with the Portland Bureau of Transportation. Hannah, thanks so much for joining us. What can you tell us about your crews? And again, like I said, it feels like we have a bit of a quiet moment right now, but as we all prep for what our meteorologist is saying is going to be round 2.
Yeah, that's right. We have been in 24-hour operations since 6 p.m. yesterday. We are in full call out here in Portland. So that means that we have all of our snowplows and all of our vehicles out on the streets of Portland, covering our snow and ice routes and treating them as needed. We have been very busy. It's been certainly, we've seen quite a bit of accumulation on the streets today. But like you all said, we are in a bit of a slow moment. And this is a great time that we'd like to encourage folks to get out there and shovel their sidewalks, if possible, to make sure that folks in their neighborhoods can get around easily.
Hannah, when you talk about the treatment process that you all go through, what exactly does that look like for your crews?
Yeah, we were given a really great early advantage in this storm, which isn't always the case. And that was the dry weather that we had going into this that allowed us to put down over 8,000 gallons of anti-icer on Portland streets on Wednesday night. We also put down 300 to 400 cubic yards of salt on our salt routes as well. That gave us a really strong base to deal with this snow as it came down starting this morning. So were able to get ahead of it and then stay on top of it throughout the day. We only have 5 road closures that are on small side streets at this time. A couple of them are kind of those typical streets we see every winter event that are steep roads that get slicked up real quick, but no major impacts to Portland streets at this time because largely because we were able to get that early treatment down and have been managing it throughout the day. As we look ahead though to tonight and we see that freezing rain in the forecast, we are very concerned about what that could mean for our streets overnight. Freezing rain is a very different type of precipitation than snow and causes a lot more damage and challenges for people trying to get around.
Yeah, are there any spots that come to mind? You said that there are some spots that we know are typical. What comes to mind for you when you think about tonight going into tomorrow if these conditions get as bad as they could, especially with that potential for ice? What are those spots that you want people to look out for and to definitely avoid?
You know, when we're talking about freezing rain, it's everything. It's not any particular spot. Even our extremely experienced snowplow drivers can get stuck in freezing rain because the conditions are just treacherous. So when we are asking folks to avoid travel during freezing rain, we really, really mean it. And we really advise people to do that. We will be out throughout the night, treating the roads, trying to keep them as safe as possible. But we're treating first and foremost for our first responders. We want to make sure that our roads are clear for ambulances and firefighters and all of those important folks doing that work. But, if we have more people out on the streets overnight causing crashes or delays or blocking streets, that makes it really hard for our folks to do their jobs and also for those first responders.
All right, Hannah Schaefer with PBOT. Hannah, thanks so much for giving us a few minutes. We really appreciate it.
Thanks. Stay safe, all.
Of course, that was the latest information from PBOT. So really kind of honing in on that freezing rain potential. Again, as you mentioned, it's almost nearly impossible to drive or commute for not only us commuters, but also for a lot of the ground crews trying to get the upper hand on this winter weather potential. That's going to be tricky for all of us here across the Pacific Northwest as we are already starting to see some of that freezing rain push its way into our area. As a few of those light rain showers start to accumulate, it will start to freeze on many of those surfaces that are already dipping below freezing. As far as the temperatures go right now, that's where we're really kind of looking at many of them falling back below the freezing mark. Milwaukee at 28 degrees, Troutdale at 26, Battleground 32, Hillsborough 31, Laurel at 26. So definitely seeing those cold temperatures find their way back into the Pacific Northwest. This is going to be an ongoing trend as we work our way through the rest of this evening. Really seeing a lot of those temperatures start to slide backwards as well. On top of that, the winds still extremely gusty out there. The Fremont Bridge picking up nearly 30-mile-per-hour gusts. Troutdale at 31-mile-per-hour winds. Seeing the Three Corners Rock area in southwest Washington, 43 miles per hour, no surprise there. But Corbett earlier in the day almost saw wind gusts of 65 miles per hour. So when you factor in the cold temperatures with these gusty winds, that means our feel-like temperatures. So you got to remember, feel-like is the removal of heat from a source of heat, like your body. So trees and the things alike, not necessarily going to feel wind chill, but any living creatures will. So it's feeling closer to 22 degrees, I should say, out towards Portland. Laurel at 16, Troutdale 15. So we're talking about the teens, while Schuylkill 16 degrees feel like temperature, and that can definitely be dangerous for us as well. So with these type of situations, the cold temperatures, the added moisture, but also those gusty winds, it only takes about 30 minutes or so for frostbite to start to set in. That's going to be a growing concern for exposed skin for any of the houseless community. So checking up on them, making sure that they have a safe space to be tonight as those temperatures become quite chilly. And even those of us who are housed need to be prepared for the threat of power outages, not only because of those gusty winds, but also because we have that potential threat to see the ice weigh on a lot of those tree limbs, bringing them down and potentially bringing down a lot of our infrastructure as well in the form of the power lines. So extreme caution needs to be used on that front. Be mindful that you need to have a preparedness kit ready to go. Your phone is charged, all of that. And if you do or are lucky enough to have a generator, here's a few tips of how to actually operate it in these cold temperatures. Take a listen from our newscast earlier this evening.
Officials for days have been saying stay home if you can. And with people staying at home, experts are also urging you to remember to be careful, especially if you've got gas-powered appliances and heaters. The Oregon Poison Center suggests not using a gas stove to warm up your home. Do not turn on those grills or portable stoves inside a home, a tent, or camper. Also, make sure you place portable generators at least 25 feet away from a window, door, or vent. By the way, basements and garages are not safe places to run them as well. It is important to remember to regularly check the batteries on your carbon monoxide detectors, too.
All of that, of course, great information to keep in the back of our minds, especially as some of us, unfortunately, will lose power tonight and moving into the next several days. So just kind of keep that in mind. You can see some of our potential ice accumulation numbers likely going to be piling up, especially down towards the south. So Salem, Kaiser, that's where we could potentially pick up on almost a tenth of an inch to almost a half inch in some locations. So that's really going to weigh on a lot of our tree limbs that may be extended over a lot of the power lines as well. So keep that in mind. We are not out of the woods just yet. On the complete flip side, you know, at least the snow is a bit of a welcome sight, especially if you had the day off today. You had your power. It was nice and warm out, really giving us some great sights and a lot of fun as well. The kiddos pulling out the sleds. Not too often we get to do that right here in downtown Portland, or maybe even to build a snowman. Our very own Kelly Barron with Elise Haas during our live 6 o'clock newscast. We're building little snowmen in downtown. So if you do happen to have any fun over the next few days with this, I guess, seasonal snowfall that we have seen over now the 10th year in a row with measurable snowfall, and more still to come tonight into tomorrow, that's where you can take those photos and videos. Head over to KOIN.com and you can share that information with us over there. And if you are capable, or depending on what device you're looking at, you can take a screen grab right now. I'll smile for you. And you can make sure that you hit that QR code and make sure that you go over to KOIN.com. That way we can get all those photos and videos sent over to our viewers. That way everybody is able to see all of the great conditions that are being had and the fun to be had here across the Pacific Northwest. Again, just another live look out over downtown Portland on this Thursday evening, the night before Valentine's. So Valentine's Eve, I guess you could call it. And that's where it's a slow go at things across our area. Just to check in on that temperature, 33 degrees right here at PDX. Expecting to see snow, a rain-snow mix, a wintry mix, all of the works expected as we work our way through the rest of this evening. Temperatures likely going to be falling back below freezing within maybe the next hour to 2 hours, all a very real potential for us as we move our way through the rest of this evening. So be mindful of that, as we do anticipate those winds to also be on the gustier side over the next several hours. So still nearing about 30 to 35 miles per hour. You can see a time-lapse view and some more of those images from earlier today of the snowy, the windy weather that we all got to experience. And we do anticipate that those winds will start to taper back as we work our way into the early morning hours tomorrow. By about 11 o'clock, still east wind, so still cold air funneling its way from the Columbia River Gorge into our area. But at least there are some improvements as far as the wind goes, so that will make the feel-like temperature feel closer to the actual air temperature, something we can look forward to. We'll skip over that, and we'll give you a closer look at what is actually happening in downtown Portland, or much of the Portland, Vancouver metro area. And I'll pull up Facebook here and just look to see if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns. Let's see here. As far as Nick saying, tough to listen to the guy. I'm so sorry. I've been fighting off a winter cold trying to talk about the winter weather. So, yeah, it's definitely tricky to fight through that. So thanks for bearing with me to get this important information out. Freezing rain in Salem right now. That's from Mary. Yes, I would concur. We've got some crews down there as well. I told them start heading north again. That way you don't get trapped. And then let's see here. Sherman is asking about McMinnville. McMinnville will likely be picking up on a little bit more of an icing situation. I'll actually just kind of zoom us down here. So right now, McMinnville has a little bit of that purple area. So that's the wintry mix. So likely going to see chunky ice kind of falling from the sky. It won't be smooth on the surface, but still ice is ice, and it will be slick in nature. So that's a look at McMinnville. What time does it start back up? Already picking up on a lot of the moisture right now. A lot of it not actually making its way to the surface at this point in time, at least for the Portland, Vancouver area, but likely to do so as we work our way closer to about 9 o'clock or so. That's when I anticipate to be more widespread. When is it supposed to stop? That's going to be right before sunrise or so. We'll start to dry things out, and that will begin the melting process. So we can look forward to that. Let's see here, just reading through some more of the comments coming in. See, freezing rain in Troutdale. Solid coating of ice on everything already. So yeah, that's coming from Matthew right now out towards the Troutdale area.